It is International Fight Week, UFC. Dana has been here, there, and everywhere from, grinning like a Cheshire Cat next to Canelo and Crawford and making his grand arrival on that stage in New York just the other day. He is now off to Vegas, again with Canelo and Crawford, but also teeing off what is going to be a phenomenal, International Fight Week. This one kind of went under the radar, but listen, we have Ilia Topuria stepping up from 145 pounds up to, the vacant 155 pound division to face Charles do Bronx Oliveira for that lightweight title. Man, lick your chops. That is gonna be a great fight. I'm curious to see, And you know what? As much as the hype is going in to Ilia Topuria, I'm leaning towards Charles Oliveira. I don't know what it is, but I just think that sometimes you got to go with what makes sense. Don't get me wrong, Ilia Topuria, phenomenal things down at 145 pound division, and there was all this smoke he was talking about, Islam ducking him and vacating, etc. But man, until I see it, I don't think I can quite believe it. So me personally, I'm gonna lean towards Charles Oliveira. I think he gets a sneaky submission. I think he gets a submission victory over Ilia Topuria, and Ilia may have to come again. Moving on from that, on that card, we also have two title fights on that card. Pantoja, he will be taking on Kai Kara France, but I'm gonna go with Pantoja on that one. That's a quick prediction for me on that one. There are a few more interesting fights on that card, so before I even forget,
John Jones called us last night and retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
Oh my god. Right now, I think Dana is a bit busy with everything going on. He's here, there, and everywhere. Possibly this could be it, the end for John Jones. And if it is, as phenomenal as it was, it's a sad way for him to bow out. And reason why, had he had done it a while ago, after he had defended the belt, at heavyweight, and just bowed out at that moment, perfect timing. But to string it on as for as long as it has, when Tom Aspinall has been not even calling, the guy has been on the tannoy sounding out for John Jones for that fight, and it's just been this back and forth, no excitement, etc. I think it just leaves a bittersweet taste to cap off John Jones's career. Just the timing of it, it's just the way it was strung out, it's just the fact that there was so much information in terms of the money that allegedly John Jones was asking for, and then ultimately allegedly, or some say that that figure, particularly Ariel Helwani, said that figure was met by the UFC, and still the fight was a no-go. And then Jones talking about it just doesn't excite him. If we go back and we go back to some of the champions, because John Jones, he got his opportunity on a short notice fight. So if we go back to when he fought Shogun, and Shogun just said, nah, John Jones, that just doesn't excite me. Or even how can I forget? No, I will not forget his name. And even Lyoto Machida said that John Jones just doesn't excite him. I think it just doesn't sit right. So I don't think the chapter's closed. I think there's a possibility, a small possibility, that John Jones could return. But that being said, John Jones is the kind of guy that will walk away and sleep peacefully at night. So despite what anybody has to say or what anyone thinks of him. So don't hold your breath. Moving on from that.
Good, champ.
Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, is back in action this weekend as well. And it's looking like he's had a split from Malik Scott. Maybe perhaps a bit too late, in my opinion. That split should have been, you know what? Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, right? Boxing coaches or boxing trainers, they don't have to be boxers. I know Malik Scott was a boxer, right? That doesn't define what makes a good boxing coach or boxing trainer. But when your boxing trainer is the guy that you knocked out who is trying to teach you skills that you never needed to knock him out. I just don't think that works. I don't know how that even happened. You know, he went into this whole ayahuasca situation, etc., whatnot, took him into the mountains, started singing Kumbaya, and then, you know, Deontay Wilder was no more. To go through all of that, his personal issues, you know, nearing 40, you know, having financial success and freedom for his family, particularly his daughter, which is the incentive. And now obviously he's had this split from, or, you know, alleged split from Malik Scott. I don't know what Wilder is going to show up. And I know a lot of people are banking on, you know, Wilder to show a glimmer of something so that it can tee up a potential AJ fight.
He reloaded here in Wichita, Kansas.
So that leaves the Wilder fight as a potential option for, you know, AJ. But that is if Deontay Wilder looks a fragment of what he was. So remains to be seen. You know, like I said, I'll be tuning in. I don't really know what to make of this fight, but I'll be tuning in. But if we see a Deontay Wilder that is just still shot, you know, to pieces, particularly after that Zhang knockout, then remains to be seen where he goes from then, if it is advisable for him to take that fight. Anyway, moving on from that, what do we have this weekend? Oh, we have Jake Paul, the problem child, returns against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. We've also got the likes of Zeta Ramirez on the undercard. I'll be keenly watching that one just to see whether what he says post-fight, to see if that we finally get some kind of insight into, you know, unification between himself and Jai Opetaia in that cruiserweight division. But yeah, as for Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., you know, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because this is Jake's play to position himself for a possible world title opportunity, you know, by beating a former champion who just happened to go the distance with Canelo Alvarez, who will be fighting Terence Crawford later this year. So if he goes and stops this guy, right? Don't get me wrong, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that Jake Paul is better than Canelo. Case of where Chavez has taken his career, as it's been mentioned, you know, just he's been so unserious that it's got to a stage where he could get beat by Jake Paul, who, you know, lost to Tommy Fury, who Julio Cesar Chavez in their face-to-face said that, you know, Tommy Fury is not a boxer. What I've learned from watching the Jake Paul fights and his opponents and what they say, don't listen to a damn thing that any of his opponents have to say, because I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I don't buy that he's been training relentlessly, that he's more hungry than he's ever been, etc. Not buying it. As for a prediction, I'm going to go for a Jake Paul knockout within 6 rounds or a decision to Jake Paul. Anyway, guys, that is all from me for now. I will be back, but in the meantime, stay locked, stay tuned, stay blessed. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.